Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make curtains for a china cabinet. You can refer to my post if you have any questions about this sewing project. I'm going to be using this beautiful blue and white scroll fabric that I've pre-washed and dried. The first thing you want to do is draw a simple diagram for your curtains. My hutch has 5 panels in 3 different sizes that I want to put curtains behind, so I'm going to draw 3 different shapes. Next, I'm going to take my measuring tape and measure the height and width of each panel and write it on my rough pattern for each of them. For the height, measure an inch or so above the glass and add 2 inches for seam allowance and a rod pocket. For the width, simply measure the width of the glass pane and double it for a full curtain. Lay out your fabric using the selvage edge at the end. Smooth out the wrinkles and get ready to cut. I'm going to show you how to cut your curtain panels out without marking the fabric. Using your measuring tape and your height measurement with the added inches for seam allowance and rod pockets, measure down the length of one side of your fabric and snip a little bit with scissors. Repeat for the other side. Now take the selvage edge, which is usually always straight, and bring it down to line up with the 2 snips that you've made. Smooth it out, and using the selvage edge of the fabric as a straight edge, cut all the way across. Now measure out the width and make a little snip. Now I already measured out to the top to 20 inches. Now this is the selvage edge from the top. And I know from experience, you can see the selvage edge with the writing. If you tear along that, you don't have to cut because it'll always write nice and straight. And that is how you cut fabric without marking. And if you have more than one curtain panel that is the same measurement, then you can use this first panel as a pattern and simply lay it on top of more fabric, smooth out the wrinkles, and cut around it. Repeat as many times as you need for the same size panel. It's time to sew. I went ahead and started the first panel just so I could figure it out before I shared it with you. So as you can see, this side has the selvage end, so I did not finish that off. This side, I just hemmed it, and that's the long sides going down the panel. And then for the top and the bottom, I'm just going to fold it over once, and then about a 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to fold it down, probably about a 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, just enough space to fit a safety pin through so that I can hang it. Now if you're going to be using rods or some kind of wiring, then you'll want a bigger gap and you need to make sure you add that to your measurements. I am trying to be frugal and just using what I have, so I'm just going to be using some yarn to tie it up. So that's why I'm doing such a small pocket. Sew all your curtain panels, starting with going down the longer sides and hemming it or making use of the selvage edge because it won't show, and then make a rod pocket at the top and the bottom of each panel. Don't forget to backstitch and to cut any threads that are hanging off. Next, you'll want long pieces of yarn. Make sure your yarn pieces are quite a bit longer than the width of your curtain panel. It's okay if there's a lot of extra yarn. You'll need extra length in order to tie it onto the doors.
Tie one end of the thread onto the safety pin.
We'll take the safety pin through the pocket, and then I'm just going to inch it onto the yarn.
Repeat this for all your curtain panels. The next step is to drill the screws in. I'm using really small screws, probably about 1/4 to 1/2 inch, and I'm drilling them in about 1/4 inch away from the panel and about 1 inch or so above the panel or below for the bottom, to leave space in case the curtain sags a little bit once it's tied. That way everything will be hidden. Also, you want to make sure that the screws are not screwed in all the way because you'll need space to tie the yarn on around the screw.
Now it's time to hang them up. Make sure you get the right sides. And then you just tie the yarn on. I'm going to double knot it, but then I'll adjust it and tie on the other end, and then I'll trim any excess.
Make a slip knot and put it over the screw head. Pull it tight and then double knot it. Gather your fabric as far as you can onto the yarn, then pull the yarn taut and wrap it at least 2 times around the screw before tying it off. Again, use a double knot. Once you have tied it on, you can cut the excess yarn off. Repeat the process for the bottom of your panel and for all the rest of the curtains. And that's how you make curtains for a hutch.